Give us some beans. What's going on, YouTube? Another video, another vlog, whatever you want to call it. But today we're back here for the F8x M3. I got another mod coming along. It's a mod I already did. I usually don't second guess myself because I do a ton of research online before I buy something. But I ended up going with the Swift Spec R springs, which are these. You can see my buddy Chris, he's running the Swift Spec R springs as well. You can see it runs very low. I love it. The fitment with 19-inch wheels is perfect, or 18 or 20, it doesn't matter. It just looks perfect. Here's my car, the subject that shall be getting the change. So as you can see right now, it's very flush. I'm gonna miss this look, but I'm hoping to gain a little bit more clearance here. So I want a little bit more clearance in the front, a little bit more in the rear. I still want to look aggressive. I don't want too much wheel gap, but at the same time, I need more ride comfort, and that's where the Swift, I think, fails a little bit. So it's about 90% perfect. It's agile, it rides well for daily use, but when you add more passengers and the dampening system has to compensate for all the weight, that's when I feel like the spring itself is not best suited for this car. But at the same time, I still am going to miss the look. I'm going to miss the ride. I'm going to miss how... I do like how stiff it is when I'm by myself. I enjoy it, but it's the people in the back kind of shift around a little bit where I feel bad for them. Well, it's my family, it's my wife and my kids, so they're the two that are riding in the back. So I'm trying to be nice, trying to be a good dad, but at the same time I'm gonna miss this floosh ass fitment. So everybody take one last look. Just know that at one point the auto edit car was the perfect height, and it's going to be raised up. I have nothing bad to say about the Swift Spec R springs. I would still recommend them to people, and I still do. If it's a solo driver who use it a lot on autocross track, use it pretty good for daily, but if it's just you in the car, the springs are great. When you start adding more people, that's when the springs and the dampening system don't feel like they work well together. And I've tried countless solutions, meaning I did the Swift Spec R springs, then I did ZCP coating because my car is a non-ZCP, then I did the CS coating, and the CS coating made it almost like 95% perfect. But it's when those little road imperfections or jarring parts of the road where when it tries to hop over, that's when it feels a little too stiff. It's not bouncy at all, it's just stiff. Most people will not be bothered, especially if you're driving solo, so you should look into Swift Spec R springs if that's what interests you. So now I'm looking for a little bit more ride comfort, but at the same time, I need that drop. I did the Eibach springs on the E90. I love the ride. I love the look. It's not overly aggressive, but it's got the right ride height, and I have no wheel gap. So I'm totally happy with the purchase. So I'm hoping the same story is true with these Eibachs that I got for the F80. Now with the F80, I went ahead and got the Eibach Euro V1 spec. So if you go on the forums, there's going to be a huge debate. Eibach came out with 2 releases. Technically 3. One Euro V1, which they never changed, the European spec. There's a certain amount of drop, I think it's 0.8 and 0.2. And then they came out with the US version that had a V1 that was 0.8, 0.2, and then they lowered it more because the US always wants a more slam look. I have nothing against it, but the ride quality does differ a little bit more. And at the same time, I'm also going from a different style spring. So I believe these are progressive, don't quote me on this, and I'm going to a linear spring. But either way, I'm gaining more ride comfort and I'm getting a little bit more height back. So that way I don't ride on the bump stops. But for now, I'm gonna hope the Eibach is just aggressive enough for me, and I'm gonna hope the ride height is acceptable. I think it will be, it just needs time to settle. And I'm just hoping that my wife is happy with the ride. Don't get me wrong, guys, I probably could have kept it on, but I bought the Swift springs for like $350, something like that ship, and I think they're still going for like $380, $350. I could probably still sell them for like $150 to $200, and I got these new Eibach V1s from Germany, shipped over here in 3 days for 220 bucks. So really guys, if I sell the other ones, I spent barely any money. And in order to make my wife happy and me too, because you know what, as I aged up a little bit more, my ride comfort is kind of important for me, because before I used to be on the track more often, autocross more often. Now life kind of took over and I don't have as much time for that. Not saying I'm too good for it, not saying I'm out of the game, but as soon as life kind of reaches a plateau, then I can start getting back into it, because right now there's a lot of stuff going on. But enough talking. I'm going to show you guys the install front and rear, show you guys the finished look, and tell you my thoughts about the Eibach after I actually drive it. Alright guys, as you can see, before when I tried to stick my finger in, I could barely stick my first finger in, and now I literally can fit almost 2, but 1.5 probably. This ride height is actually acceptable. At first I was a little scared. This is the other side with the Swiss springs lowered, where you can barely stick your one finger in there, but the other one you can stick 1.5, but we'll see what the difference is. Crispy talking shit over here.
How many fingers can you stick in there?
Well, if I force it, I could probably put 2 in the Eibach. But forcing isn't good. Alright guys, this is a comparison of the 2 springs. This is Swift on the right, Eibach on the left. It's actually still in good condition if I clean it up, I promise. So it'll be up for sale. But if you take a look, you can see how the coils are a little looser. Obviously it's going to sit higher and the ride's going to be a little different, where this is progressive, so the ride's going to be a little stiffer, but probably more agile. But it's okay, we're going for ride comfort now. So we'll see how these springs work out, but loving the ride height. Alright guys, we got 3/4 of the car done. Now I'm going to keep you posted on the rear. The rear, we're literally taking off 2 bolts, and once we do that, we drop the rear spring, and then we're able to change it out. The 2 bolts, one is that one, and the other one is that one. Those 2, and then this rear spring drops down. Alright guys, so those bolts, we just torqued them down to 165. Once you put them back on, all you got to do after you put the spring back on, you're supposed to apply pressure from the bottom. So we're going to put the wheel on, we're going to put it on a ramp, get pressure on it to preload it, and then we're going to tighten down the shock. That's what you're supposed to do so you don't get any clanks and things like that. So keep you posted. Alright guys, we went the extra step when we're torquing everything down. These are 28 Newton meters. Make sure you read it right. It's all in Das German, so be careful. 28 Newton meters are these, that one, everything else on the strut, and then these, what were these ones, Chris? 28. Those are 28 also, all these star ones, the E-socket. And then once you do that, you can put everything back together like we are, and then it's all done. The car is like dropping even more. Chris doesn't believe me, but I'm telling him the truth. Or I'm lying to myself. Whatever, guys. Just make me feel better. I've never raised a car before. Guys, this is the rear fitment. I am very happy. You could tell that there's a little gap now compared to before, but it's still floosh. Floosh enough for the daily driver and me. Chris is going to keep making fun of me. The front settled down a little bit, and after a couple hundred miles we'll do it more, but it is already looking right on point. I am not mad about the drop. It is looking fresh. Now the true test is going to be the ride. Is there any difference? If there's no difference, then this was pointless. We literally did this for nothing. I spent an extra couple $100 for nothing. And yeah, we just basically did it for practice and I guess content for this video, but that's not what I want to do. It better be different. We went with the Euro spec V1s instead of the US specs, so it's supposed to be smoother ride. Alright guys, I finally made it back home. The install went pretty smoothly for the most part. We just had to check all the torque specs, got everything on perfectly, test drove it, no squeaks, no rattles, no issues, no noises, nothing. It feels taut, alignment's not jacked, everything feels great. But my biggest and happiest thing that I want to report to you guys, progressive springs are great for the purpose of when you use them for the track or something aggressive, but for daily use, these linear Eibach V1 Euro spec springs are amazing. I am not exaggerating. It soaks up the bumps 100%. I don't want to exaggerate it that it transformed the car, but it soaks up the bumps rather than getting jolted by the bumps. It didn't upset the car. It was just one of those things where the people in the back, the passengers, they would feel the brunt of it because they're right over the rear axles. But now I had my wife inside the car. We took a quick ride in the car with the Eibach springs, and she was like, wow, the car is so smooth. The ride height, I want to report, so far is perfect. I am not mad at all. The front is amazing. The rear is like on point. So I have a feeling the front's going to settle a little more over time. I could report that back to you guys 100%. I don't want to say that it totally transformed the car, but to me it did, because now my passengers are not going to feel like the car is a bumpy ride. You know, when you pay $70,000 to $80,000 for a car, it shouldn't feel bumpy for the passengers, in my eyes and for me. So I think these springs are the best way to go, or something similar along those lines. Some people choose the ride harshness with the ride height they prefer over the ride comfort. So I'm just one of those people. Maybe it's because I'm aging, like fine wine, but I'm aging and I have a family, and as long as I can get rid of the ride, that gap that I hate in the front, but in the rear it's not really as present, but the front is definitely there. If I can get rid of most of that or all of it, and then I get the ride quality that I want, that's the spring that I want. I am very happy with these springs, guys. If you guys are in the market, definitely look out for those springs. You know, everyone's going to be quick to hype up the springs that they own because they own it. Trust me, I was doing the same thing. There's nothing wrong with Swift, but keep in mind the Eibach will have a better ride. 110%. I'm guaranteeing it. If you're local, I'll give you a ride and show you. But trust me, I did the wife test. It's a pass. I'm happy to report that after, now I put 180, 200 miles so far on the springs. The springs have settled. I'll show you guys an after picture. So I have a picture of when I had it with the Swift springs, then when I installed the springs initially, then when it sat for about 30 minutes and I did all four corners and the car just kind of settled. And then now I'll show you after 200 miles, it actually does look different. People never believe that springs have to settle, but they do have to settle. The other thing I have to make very clear, and I'm going to put it on the title too, before you buy any springs, read this or watch this, because the Eibach springs will literally make you enjoy the car, and it will do everything that the Swift can do, plus give you that ride comfort, which is so important for these cars. Now I have so much more clearance. I mean, and the look is just as perfect as when I had the Swift. So honestly, I got the look and I got the convenience of having a higher lip, so I don't have to worry about bumping anymore. So it's a whole bunch of pros for the Eibach spring. I mean, the ride quality speaks for itself. No one's gonna believe me. Everyone's gonna think, oh, you just swapped it, so now you have to like it. No, I literally got the Swift springs. I did every single procedure to make it as perfect as possible. Now I'm on the M3 CS coating, which is amazing coating for the dampening. If you haven't done it yet, please get it. Don't waste your time not getting it. What I'm trying to say is linear springs with this car doesn't overwork the shocks, doesn't overwork the EDC, and it gives you the ride height you need, the ride comfort you want, and then it also gives you the clearance that you'd want for the front lip. Usually after the winter, the road gets pretty jarring until they start filling it in. And that's where I noticed the Eibach really shines. It doesn't matter where the cracks are on the road, little potholes, little man cover, yeah, those little man covers that have a little divot in the road. You could ride over those and you still don't feel it like you did on the Swift. On the Swift, you literally felt it go through the chassis, which it didn't feel like it was broken, nothing rattling. The car feels completely solid. It's just one of those things where the dampening didn't feel like it was catching up to the spring. The spring was too aggressive. That's my spiel. Now I'm on the Eibach springs, only a couple hundred miles, but I am enjoying them more. And I'm going on 54,000 miles on the car. So the shocks are already kind of worn. So you have to imagine the Eibachs on some freshy shocks would be just amazing. So I'm not saying that my shocks are bad. My shocks are still good. I have no issues with them at all, but just mine are more worn compared to those newer cars out there. So the Eibach plus those shocks, it's beautiful. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If you guys stayed this long, I appreciate it, but really I'm trying to help you guys make an informed decision. Have a good one, guys. Till next time.